Well, good morning, everybody, and welcome back to another episode of Adult Child of Dysfunction. So, before we even get started today, I wanted to just kind of talk to you real quickly because we've had a couple people on the podcast recently, and I want to talk about how success, just because you look successful and you look like you're doing everything on the outside, does not mean you are happy and you are not struggling on the inside. Because the high achieving, it doesn't always feel high achieving, right? So if there's addiction patterns, if there's old childhood trauma that you're going through, this is all those survival responses. And so success does not automatically heal what was formed as survival, honestly. So this is the work that I do every day, helping people uncover those conscious patterns, regulate nervous systems, and build lives that feel aligned, not just impressive. So today, our guest is actually going to understand that very well because she has struggled with both the business side of it, the professionalism side of it, and the personal side of it. So today we have with us Jennifer Schrappe, LPCC-S, and I'll let her explain that. She has been a therapist for over 20 years. She is the founder and director of Chrysalis Enterprises, a counseling practice in Columbus, Ohio. She is also a professional speaker and is developing a program for entrepreneurs who are in recovery from food addiction. A significant part of Jennifer's story has been a lifelong struggle with compulsive overeating, navigating cycles of recovery, shame, and resilience while building a business helping others heal. Welcome, Jennifer.
Thank you, Tammy. It's great to be here.
Yeah, no, it seems like the subjects keep coming around as people that are having successful businesses or entrepreneurs, and they look so together and happy on the outside, but underneath there's still a lot going on, and it just seems to be a constant theme I'm getting over the last couple of weeks. So I know you struggled a little, well, not a little, you struggled a lot in your childhood, and was it always with overeating?
Yep, that became my best friend. It always made the problems feel like they were going away. It always made me feel better.
So was it I mean, I don't know much about you. I've never met you really, but was it your school or was it home or was it a combination of both or was it just
It was, I was the oldest kid in our family, and our parents' marriage was not doing well, and I somehow interpreted that as being my fault because I wasn't perfect all the time. And so obviously I had done something wrong. And now I know that to be complete hogwash. But, at that time, a 7-year old, 8-year old kid, it seemed completely reasonable. And so then they split up, and for my mom and siblings and me, that changed everything. And it set us on a completely different course in life. We moved across country, so that all changed, and I wasn't seeing my father anymore, and all of the stuff, and new school. And this was in the 80s before we had the level of understanding that we do today about how things affect young kids and how they can internalize and how that can show up in outward behaviors that look a certain way but are really about something else, and on and on. And so I withdrew and went inside myself and felt like I had to be the second adult in the household to help my mom and to take care of my younger siblings. And as far as my own pain, the food was there.
yep. Yep, I can remember honestly. It's that dopamine hit. It's that comfort. It's that that just this is making me feel good. I can remember when my parents used to fight. I used to grab a sleeve of Chips Ahoy or Oreo cookies and I would go hide under the drainage ditch and and eat the whole sleeve because I figured it was about the timing that if I ate that, I could just relax, I could calm down, I could, rest, I could be safe. And then it was good timing to go back. And it's funny that several years, well, like 40 years later, when they were like, you have a sugar problem, like your A1C. And I was like, oh no. I was like, okay, so think, Tammy, okay, it's time to let go of the six chocolate chip cookies and glass of milk every night before we go to bed. That just, it became my comfort food.
Yep.
And
Yep. And it is comforting. It is comforting and it won't say no. It won't reject you. These hyper processed foods, which of course are the ones that, in my experience, I go for. I'm not going to binge out on broccoli.
no,
So the hyper processed foods, I believe, have been engineered to have that great, mouth feel and to have that great rush and whatever it is that they put into those products. And so that helps to perpetuate the issue, perpetuate the patterns.
yeah.
And it in those, at least in those first few moments where the binge starts, man, it sure does bring relief. Who doesn't want relief?
Right.
Especially in those moments, especially when you were suffering what you were suffering as a child and what I was suffering too.
Well, at the end of the day, you're going to do anything to yourself. And it's funny that now there is so much more awareness around it because back then, if you were, I mean, I'm sure you gained weight pretty quickly as a child then because you were eating the wrong foods, grabbing whatever you could grab. Like you said, you're not going home and eating a head of lettuce with some balsamic vinegar on it when you're stressed out. You're grabbing whatever you can grab, and it's always the potato chips. It's the things that give your physiological reward system that hit, and then it becomes an addiction. But there's also that the fact that nobody is going to judge you if they might judge you if you are overweight, but they're not going to judge you if you're eating a cookie, where they're going to judge you if your happy comfort thing is alcohol or drugs or something like that.
Gotcha. The
You know what I'm
stigma,
saying?
right?
Yeah, the stigma. Like people, if you're eating a cookie, people are not going to be like, look at her. But if you're in the middle of the day, you got a little shot glass in your pocketbook and you're doing a shot real quick. But honestly, it's feeding the same thing, right? So
Mm-hmm.
let's start going back to, let's go right into adulthood. So talk about, because I know you talk a lot about guilt and shame and you talk about that and bringing that kind of into your adulthood. What are some of the kind of mindset things you had to overcome from your childhood?
That I was the worst, that I was worthless, that my weight defined me, that it's best to keep everybody at bay and just be on my own little island, so to speak. And it's especially funny thinking about that, considering that I'm married and I have children. Um, And so it can be at times hard for me to reach out for help from them, and they're very loving and supportive and trustworthy, but still I can have this, island, keep everybody at bay mentality sometimes. That I was worth the time and attention it would take to overcome this.
That's a big one,
Instead of okay, we need to be taking care of that and we need to take care of that person and we need to solve this problem and at the end of it all, once all that is resolved, then maybe I'll get to me, but all this other stuff has to be fixed first.
right? And it, and unfortunately, and for the people out there listening, you guys, you can all resonate with this. You can fix, it's like alcoholism. The alcohol is not the problem. The alcohol is the answer for people that are suffering with that. It's what's inside that's the problem. It's what the beliefs are that are keeping you to need to self-soothe or self-medicate or self-eat, whatever whatever it is. But it's hard. So what are some of the steps that you did to do that?
Some of the steps, gosh, it's been such a long process and I'm still figuring out pieces of it. But some of the steps were Acknowledging that I couldn't fix it on my own, acknowledging that I needed something outside me, guidance, a program, support in that program. And I did try different weight loss programs with different levels of success, but the real issue was what was going on in here.
Right.
What in here was driving me to the food. And so when I really started getting a good understanding of what all needed some attention, needed some loving care, needed some healing, and like you said, alcohol is the solution. Well, in my case, food is the solution. And so instead of berating myself for wanting relief in food, let's get curious and let's look at what feels so awful that it seems like food is the only fix, the only way to get some resolution. So, relearning those patterns. And then for me, what it really took was getting into the Bright Line Eating program, which cuts out sugar, cuts out flour. Wheels. Meals are weighed and measured. So meals are weighed and measured, and for those who have a history of binging, you can kind of distribute your food so that there are also some snacks in between the meals so that you can better avoid a binge. And those are weighed and measured too. And
Right.
then in between meals and snacks, it's water, it's non-caloric drinks. And that's the regimen. And it's set up that way because for somebody who is addicted to food, which I am, for somebody who has a long history of binge eating, which I do, we need that kind of regimen. And it's not like, you know, yay, we thrive in the strictness and nothing else. The rules protect us. The rules protect a person like me. Those guidelines. That's why it's called bright line eating, because a bright line is a line that you don't cross. I guess it's a legal term. And so it's these lines that you don't stray out of because that's going to get you in danger. And so I have this program. Okay, that's good. That's very helpful. But again, it's the emotional as well.
Mhm.
So learning to work with professionals who can help to unpack what's driving these patterns and to come up with healthier patterns with self-compassion.
Right.
So not like you must do this or you're the worst and you suck and all that. But instead, okay, what's going on here? And what can we do about it compassionately?
Right. And just in general, when you look at things with curiosity instead of judgment, it's going to soften you by default. If you can go to grab that and you want that cookie or you want that ice cream so bad and and you're like, instead of being like, "Oh my God, Jennifer, why do I always do this?" Just be like, what happened today? So why don't I grab, I mean, I don't know how you do it, but I know with like the whole other part of it, the drinking and stuff, it was like, what am I doing? Like, let me think through this. And while I'm thinking through this, let me grab a glass of water, and really, but being curious it just softens the whole situation because it's not anger. And because that you get into that guilt and that shame spiral, I call it, like,
Yep.
and, and I know my sister struggled. She struggles with still to this day struggles with binge eating, and we don't talk about it so much. But I don't know what program she was on or whatever. But when I was at her house, it was very specific. Like everything was portioned because she said even if it was yogurt, which is good for you, but still a lot of sugar. She's like, if I bought my yogurt in a thing this big, I would eat the whole thing, even though it was something that was good for me. And so she portioned everything, but she did say that that's literally one of the first things she did is it was like kind of like I call it the nip it in the bud. Like as soon as you hear that inner critic or that shame voice being like, what's wrong with you? Which is I think that sentence, "What's wrong with you," should be taken out of the vocabulary to begin with. Like, shouldn't even be allowed to be said. It should be like, no, don't say it. But,
Yeah.
what's going on here? Like, you're right. What is happening? Do you have any suggestions for people that find themselves? Because I'm sure there's a lot of people out there that struggle, especially with the food, because it's accessible. It's it's there for the taking. It's like I said, people don't necessarily in the beginning, especially judge you because you're just eating a little too much or, you eating under the table or whatever it is. What are suggestions like if you thought, God, I really need this cookie, this ice cream, what would be your thought pattern going forward with that?
If I'm having those thoughts, well, ideally, I would be working through because additional step that I've taken is to get involved in Overeaters Anonymous, where I'm dialing into phone meetings, getting a sponsor, and going through the steps. And of course, OA has tons of materials online, and there are books you can get, and there are phone meetings. Meetings over video, in-person meetings. There are so many ways to get help in OA. And as long as the meeting is run the way it's supposed to be, it'll be a compassionate, safe place. And so, in those moments, ideally, I would have been working a strong enough and consistent program where those thoughts don't have the same weight that they would before, where it's like, oh, well, I've had this thought. Okay, well, now I'm doomed. It's not, whether or not I'm going to start eating, it's when and how much and what am I going to eat. So it empowers a person to have more of that kind of built up support.
Right.
So that's a big aspect of it. And a huge thing to remember is that whatever unhealthy coping mechanism we may have, whatever critical voice or imposter syndrome or shame that we may be experiencing, in a twisted way or another, it's trying to achieve something good for us.
It's a,
The inner critic is often trying to achieve self-perfection by reminding us of all the things that need to be fixed so that we fix them and then we'll be perfect and then we'll never make a mistake. We'll never go awry on the personal side or on the business side. We will be gorgeous and well loved and immensely successful if we could just fix everything that the inner critic tells us.
right. Well, I mean, at the end of the day, it is trying to protect us because it's our
Sure
subconscious
is.
programming. It's the thing that when we were 7 years old and we were being bullied, you know, they our brain said, okay, don't go out in public, don't be seen in big groups, don't do this, don't do that, because it will protect you. And but now it's like, okay, now we have to move forward and we have to move out of those patterns and those protective mindsets. So talk about when you started your business because you did say there was a lot of shame wrapped up in what was going on with you. What were some of the, having a food addiction? What were some of the setbacks in business?
When the stress would come, guess what would go into my mouth? When the stress would come, food was so often my coping mechanism. And I could be getting out of session with a client who is talking about, the unhealthy ways that he or she deals with stress. And maybe that included something in the addiction realm. And I would be counseling that client. And that client would leave. And then I would get worked up about something and start stuffing my face.
Yeah. We're our own worst. We're our own worst clients, aren't we?
Ooh, for sure. For sure.
Um,
And so I noticed that got, as the business grew, as things got more complex, then of course the stress level rises, the responsibilities rise, of course, that's natural. But the coping mechanisms, which had not been realigned into something healthy, were also continuing and worsening. And under a lot of that was this shame-based imposter syndrome that, telling me that I didn't deserve to have a thriving business. The best I could hope for would be one that was just kind of skating along the edge,
Hmm.
um, from day to day, in danger of completely imploding, which it never has been. But that's what this imposter syndrome part would say. And that at best, I am getting my bills paid with maybe a little bit left over, but don't count on that for long.
And that's just,
So,
it's so frustrating and being in that. And I see
yep,
so many people in that thing because what's the underlying message? You're not good enough. You don't
not
deserve
good
it.
enough, don't deserve it.
You're
Yeah.
just not, you're not worthy. And so, like, and you said, being an entrepreneur, as your business grows, as you become more successful, the stress level goes up in different ways. It comes at you
Mhm.
different ways. So it's really having to have that underlying belief that I do deserve to thrive. And I do, so that when the stress things come, it's like, let's handle this so we can move up, you know, not let's do whatever we have to
That's
do
right.
to survive this.
And something interesting, and I mean, this is interesting, but it also fits. I just have this automatic assumption that any other business owner I meet, that their business is doing great. And of all these people I'm getting to know, mine is the only one that's struggling.
You're not
Well,
the only
in the
one that
times
thought
in
that.
the times of struggle. And then that translates. I mean, it's still part of the that isolating shame-based thinking. And I share this next one to make you laugh. I have this assumption, and when I noticed it, I thought, wow, that's kind of insane. That this particular OA meeting that I call into, this phone meeting, so obviously we're not seeing each other, but I was falling under this assumption that I was the only overweight person on that call, that everybody else had already lost their weight and they're just looking to maintain and support others. And I'm the only overweight person on the call. And then I thought, wow, what is that? There's something to unpack there.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. And for the people out there listening, this is a perfect example of what we talk about where we say you're right where you need to be. Like where you are right now is the spot to move forward. Like don't wait until you have it figured out to come on here and tell people like that. I guess that's what I'm trying to say is don't wait until you've mastered something. Like we're all in a process. It is a lifelong process, and you're going to get smarter and learn more, and the things will get easier, and those things will fall off. And just continue to move forward is really the big picture. But that is kind of funny.
Mm-hmm.
It is actually kind of funny. It's like going to an AA meeting and being like shamed and being like, "Oh, I got a DUI." And they're like, "Yeah, we all did. I'm here for six. I'm here for nine. I'm here for two." Like, "Oh yeah, okay, got you." You know what I'm saying?
And so,
Same
Tammy,
concept.
that's why I started the Unburdened Entrepreneur, which right now it's a series of workshops getting the word out to other business owners who may feel a little crazy, like I do at times. And more specifically, if they are in recovery from addiction and they find that that recovery is a lot harder when you throw running a business into the mix, which will
Yes.
jack it up every time, or really any kind of emotional recovery. Let's say that there's been a lifetime of anxiety or a lifetime of shame to overcome. those things will jack up running a business as well. And having walked that out and fallen plenty of times and gotten back up and figuring it out and learning a lot along the way, I have a great desire to help other business owners who suffer with the same.
That's amazing. So your course is so it's I know you said a program was coming out, so you've got the foundation of it. You've got the workshops and stuff going on. Is the program put
Yeah,
together? Okay.
right now it's in the form of workshops. I'm thinking that I'll eventually put together a cohort, but all of this can be found on my website, jenniferschrappe.com.
Okay, sounds absolutely amazing. I'd love to check it out. And I know a lot of people out there, it's a question. We all think that our story is so unique and that it's never happened to anybody and that, we can't get out of this. Guys, it doesn't matter where you are or where you've come from or how bad it got even. There's always a way forward. There always is. You just have to believe in it and you have to believe in yourself and you have to find those tools that can get that into your conscious programming that you are worthy and you are enough. So jenniferschrappe.com is exactly where everybody would go.
Yep.
Okay. And I'll put that in the show notes for you. And then when your whole course launches and comes out, we'll do another big thing. Maybe have you come back on, and just talk about your course because I think that is, what's it called? The Unburdened
The
Entrepreneur.
Unburdened Entrepreneur.
I love it. I absolutely love it. So, so yeah, so if you have any questions for Jennifer, reach out to her. And before you leave, I want you to give the listeners one piece of advice, a tip, a trick, something tangible to take with them to make their day a little better. What would it be?
Whatever is coming at you on the inside, it's trying to avoid a feared outcome. So it's not based in complete truth. It's coming at you from a place of fear. So keep that in mind and get curious about what that fearful part or inner critic or imposter syndrome or whatever it may be, how that force may be driven by fear. And you'll reach peace a lot more quickly.
Amen. And is there anything else you want to tell the listeners? You have a lot of information. You've been through a lot. You're running a business. I mean, you're doing it, girl. So anything else you want to share with the listeners?
You are worth the support that you need.
Sounds great. Thank you so much for coming on.
Thanks for having me. This has been great.
Yeah, you're very welcome. And for everybody else out there listening, you heard it. You are so, so worth it. I mean, you guys hear how I end the end of every single podcast. You are way, way more than enough right here, right now. But also know there's so many resources out there to make your day a little brighter, to make things a little easier, and to get a little more of that inner peace that we oh so deserve. So you guys have a blessed week, and we will see you back. Thanks.